Hi, everyone. Get ready for the How I Raised It podcast, the show where you get an inside, unfiltered look at how real entrepreneurs raise capital for their businesses. Listen to their stories, their successes, and the challenges they had to overcome to get to where they are now. I'm your host, Nathan Beckert, and thank you for tuning into today's show with Dejan Pralica of Soul Savvy. This is a community for sneakerheads, people who love sneakers, pretty interesting business. If you're tuning into this podcast to learn how to raise capital for your business, I've created a super valuable free welcome package for you. It includes a list of 2,500 investors who don't require a warm intro, plus a list of 200 of the most important questions that serious investors are going to ask you. So this will really help you get prepared so you can totally rock your fundraise. Click the link in the first comment to get access. It's free, and you will be truly ready to pitch your startup with confidence. Last but not least, if you enjoy this conversation and think someone else would too, please share it with them and hit that subscribe button to get all the latest episodes. So for now, sit back and enjoy the show.
Welcome to How I Raised It, the podcast that goes behind the scenes with entrepreneurs who've raised capital. We uncover the tips, tricks, and techniques they use to get investors to write a check. Strap in and turn it up.
Hi, welcome to another episode of How I Raised It, produced by Foundersuite.com. Today I have Dejan Pralica of Soul Savvy coming to us from Vancouver. How's your day going?
Good. It's sunny. It's not raining in Vancouver, so that is always a victory.
Yeah, when does like summer kick in up there? Like when does the rainy season kind of stop?
Never. There's always periods of rain that will come in Vancouver, but for the most part, we'll start getting really nice springs and summers by April, May, and it becomes predominantly sunny by June, July. We got really mild temperatures here. It's just the rain is more predominant. Anyone in the Pacific Northwest understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful country though, beautiful territory.
Yeah.
I went up there, I guess 2 years ago now, with a couple buddies and just rode motorcycles across the island, mostly off-road, and it was so awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and my wife we were driving home from somewhere over a bridge, and we just kind of looked up and we're like, wow, it's really beautiful. We don't we don't appreciate this enough sometimes because we see it every day. The mountains, the surroundings, and all that stuff.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, let's talk about your business. What is Soul Savvy?
We are a subscription community and platform. The platform portion of this is being built out next, but at the core, we're a business focused on empowering consumers to buy the product they want for retail while also bringing them together over a common interest. In this case, it's their passion for shoes. Okay.
And I'm looking at your back wall. I'm assuming it's a real, not a Zoom, but a real wall, and I see some cool vintage Air Jordans on there, a bunch of other stuff. So it's solely focused on sneakers. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And so so you're targeting sneakerheads, you're targeting people really passionate about this. What do I do as a sneakerhead that finds my way to your site?
Yeah, so we give, I break down our value proposition in two ways. One is we'll save people time, and the other is we'll save people money, right? How we do that and how we achieve that, there's a lot of, there's some nuances to that, and there's some things that are as simple as like, you can go shop at this store for 30% off this weekend because you are a member of Soul Savvy. Or from a time perspective, we curate a lot of information. There's sneaker releases Wednesday through Saturday every single week, all year round. And as a working professional, someone who's just busy, has a life, has a family, keeping up with that is very difficult. So we make sure that, at any given time, the morning of a release, the day before a release, you can log on to our platform, come on our community, and you'll have everything you need there to catch up without having to spend time, hunting it down, trying to understand where, when, how. And then most importantly, you get access to a bunch of people who appreciate this thing, in this case sneakers, as much as you do, and that can be tough to find online these days.
And so the real core demographic though are collectors, right? I mean, I'm not coming here to find a new pair of running shoes necessarily. I'm here to collect something rare that is going to be released
currently.
Limited quantities?
Yeah, and it's not always limited. There's limited can be defined based on demand, right? There's Air Jordan releases that they might make 1 or 2 million units of worldwide that is still going to fly off the shelves. So it's definitely coming from that mentality of there's a shoe I want that's more than likely going to sell out. And I just want to make sure I can acquire it, because a second, the resale market within sneakers has now grown to 6 billion. It's been in the news recently with some things that are going on, but ultimately it's become very difficult for people who want to buy shoes and wear them on their feet to do that, because there's a secondary market that's growing.
That's interesting. I would never have guessed how big that market is.
Massive.
It's massive. Yeah. That's crazy. I do remember I lived up in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco for a while, and I would get up on Sunday, and there'd be total dead. Everything would be dead, but there'd be a line of mostly younger people lined up at one of these shoe stores, which I'm assuming was for
it was probably a release that weekend. Yeah. Our demo is I would say mostly 25 to 40. Have grown up through basketball. Jordan has touched their life in some capacity, or their parents kind of brought sneakers down to them, and it says something about them. I consider sneakers a statement about my personality, what I decide to wear that day, how bright is it, whose sneaker was it. One of the Jordans you see behind me is an original 1985 Jordan 1. That shoe is old. That is the start of sneaker culture to me, and it's why I have it in my collection. It's why I paid more than I want my wife to find out. So I'm not going to say it on this podcast. I was going to ask you how much it's worth, but I'm not saying it. Yeah, I'm not saying it.
Yeah, I remember those shoes. I actually lived in Illinois for 1 year in the 80s, and it was when the Bulls were dominant and Jordan was dominant. And I remember every kid in Illinois had those shoes, those red, white, and black.
That sneaker, I forget, maybe it was $60, $70, $100. That would have been the investment of a lifetime if you owned, a couple dozen pairs and just stashed it for yourself as an archivist, as a collector.
Yeah.
But obviously back then, this was not how people thought about sneakers, and didn't see the cultural value going forward personally and through the industry.
So I'm going to geek out for a second. I like Converse. I like the classic Chuck Taylors. I've been wearing them forever, for decades. And when they decided to shift manufacturing to Asia, I was living in New York, and I went to every sneaker place and bought up all the made in USA Chuck Taylors that still existed, and I kind of pick up on some of the rare releases. Is there any culture around Chuck Taylors, or is it just me?
There is, right? But that's the difficulty of having a passion for something right now online through social media, and finding other people to enjoy it with. That's part of, what makes us succeed, is the fact that, you could probably join the platform and find at least a couple people who share that same drive for Chuck Taylors that you would love, and you wouldn't know where to find that. Right. So, for us, yes, we're thinking about the collector, the sneakerhead, but there's also that spectrum of people who, we're into sneakers, or are trying to get into sneakers, and they're trying to find their way back in and don't know where to start. I think overall for us as a company, the culture itself is not very fun right now for a variety of reasons, and I'll spare everyone. And, we want to be at the forefront of changing that, making it fun again, making it enjoyable again, and making it about the people and not about potential profits around a sneaker.
Interesting. Yeah. I was going to ask that too. How much of it is just pure fanboys and fangirls versus people looking at these as investments? Are people kind of speculating and,
Yeah, I think, from a collector mentality, I have 500 pairs of shoes. I buy them all with the intent of wearing them at some point, right? At least once or twice a year. I'll get around to it. There's enough days in the year. Do I buy something thinking, hey, this is really good to have in my collection because I don't know what I will do with it in the next 5 years? Absolutely. But I'm also not saying hey, if this isn't worth $5,000 in 5 years, it's going to be a failure for me. That's not the mind that I'm taking into it. But things do appreciate, as we've seen with 1985 Jordans. So it's part of the industry, but I think, you know, a large majority of our customer base comes at it from the passion first. And you know, anything you collect, we're seeing now with Pokemon cards and trading cards, you know, things have their cycles and their moments. And if you decide to liquidate at that point, I don't think anyone's going to be mad at you. I know I wouldn't be, but the problem right now within the industry is we have people who are exploiting technology to purchase 100 or 150 pairs, and that's when things just really go south and get sour. And
like using a bot to snap up the drop.
Exactly.
Something like that. Okay, so I was going to ask that too. Do you guys get like exclusive access or supplies to when a new limited release is coming out? Do you guys have?
No. So the way we work is we have technology in place that helps people essentially move quicker and buy faster. You know, helping you find the product instantly through our technology, and then getting you to payment as quickly as possible. So you still have to initiate the transaction as a person, and you have to complete the transaction as a person. So it's still very human, but we try to expedite that middle portion there so you can be faster and get the edge you need to purchase. But ultimately, we don't do anything like that, because it's against any botting is against the terms of service for a lot of stores and brands. Yeah. And obviously we don't want to dabble in that.
Interesting. Okay. Last question, and then we'll get to the fundraising part.
Yeah.
Is Kanye West a member? Because I saw his photo recently. I'm sure you see this.
No,
he's got his shoe collection.
Kanye West is not a member. That would be actually kind of cool. But we have some really interesting members. Just a variety of different people from different walks of life. Like we have an LA Dodgers championship pitcher in the community, right? We have a Golden State Warrior NBA player in the community. Cool. Like we have people who are part of the community who are sneakerheads because they love it, regardless of their level of notoriety or fame, which just kind of, you know, doubles down on the idea of, you know, celebrities or athletes are people too. You know, they love the same things we do, and they want to engage it in the same way that we do. And community allows for that to happen in a very organic way.
Cool. All right, let's talk about raising money for this. So how much have you guys raised, and how many rounds?
We raised our seed round late 2020 for $2 million. And that was it. We were bootstrapped before that.
Yeah. Congrats. What, so was it I think I read it was a party round, or did you have a lead investor that?
No, it was a party round. It was a 2 million party round. We started fundraising, March 2020, so right when the pandemic hit, and no one knew what the hell they wanted to do with their money, and everyone was panicking that the world was gonna end in the next 30 days. So we were stocking up on toilet paper. So it was definitely a challenging first kind of 4 months fundraising. I learned a lot, made me very tough, took a lot of meetings, took a lot of no's. But again, a lot of value came out of that experience.
Talk about that. Let's go into a little more detail on that. So, you know, how are you finding people that were interested in a sneaker community marketplace, which is a fairly, I don't want to say niche, but it is kind of pretty niche business, you know?
Yeah. So it was one of the decisions we made in February. We said, well, you know, we want to focus on growth. We want to focus on scale. We want to raise some money so that we can build the product that we're envisioning. So we joined Launch Accelerator by Jason Calacanis. That started, I believe, in March or April, like that. It was right around then that we committed to the accelerator. So for 4 months up until August, 5 months, we, you know, went with weekly pitch sessions with them. It's a great program. It really helped. I mean, opened up my network. I'm a second-time founder, first time raising. I had no idea what I was doing this time last year, like at all. So I kind of just got thrown into the fire. We were pitching to Sequoia, USV, all the big firms were coming to these meetings, usually 10 to 15 VCs. We'd pitch Thursdays, and it really helped me fine tune my craft as someone who's raising money. And that was really the process from April to August for us.
Interesting. Is that I'm familiar with it, but for people who aren't,
Mhm.
Is it are they taking equity? Is the Launch
Yeah.
Accelerator investing in you? Is it sort of the traditional accelerator model?
It was $100,000 investment in return for a convertible note or safe. I forget which terminology of it, which guaranteed them equity at our next round that had that wasn't a note, that was a fixed price.
Cool. And then these pitch Thursdays, let's talk about that because that's interesting. They would bring in, was it a panel of investors? And then you would
Go ahead. Yeah. So we were supposed to be there. Sorry, I should backtrack. I was supposed to fly to San Francisco every Wednesday night or Thursday morning, spend the day, and then head home, and we'd pitch in person. That's normally how the accelerator was for them. So they do, I want to say, 2 or 3 cohorts a year in person, 7 companies, the $100,000 investments. We were the first remote one, which was very interesting. I think ultimately it was for the best, and I preferred it that way. And they have as well, because I think they're doing 7 cohorts now a year with 7 companies per, because it just allowed them to scale a little bit quicker and make more investments. But ultimately, we'd hop on a Zoom just like we are right now. We had a process where the 7 companies would pitch for 3 minutes, take questions for 2 minutes. We go through all the companies. At the end, investors would vote their, first, second, third favorite companies. We got, tally up the points. Someone would win that week. Again, usually 10 to 15 investors on the call. They take turn asking questions. And after that, if someone voted for you, or if you wanted to reach out, you could, request a meeting, et cetera, et cetera. And usually that's where kind of the dialogue would start, because someone would go like, hey, I love this. This is my favorite company in the cohort. Let's talk some more.
Okay. And next logical question, did any of those, I guess, sort of practice pitch meetings lead to investors coming in writing a check, or was it just really good practice for you?
No, I so from a perspective of, I can only speak from my cohort at the time. A lot of them during the process got commitments, got a term sheet, got a lead. I struggled to get that lead and that term sheet because I was selling community, regardless of sneakers. I was selling community, which was really hard for people to understand at the time. And then on top of that, I was talking about sneakers. So it was just this like 1-2 punch of like, this doesn't make any sense and it can't scale. Obviously, as the pandemic continued on and things shifted, that kind of the understanding of what this company can mean and how it can scale changed. The perspective changed for VCs. But during it, for me, we got really close to a lot of investments, but ultimately didn't close them during the time of the accelerator. But it was totally like, the point was like, come out of this and raise what you wanted. We weren't one of them, which, is no harm for us because we figured it out after.
Interesting. That's really interesting. And thanks for being so candid. I love stories where it's like, hey, wasn't all just as up and to the right. Perfect,
oh God.
Scenario.
I will say we as a company have been growing very consistently. That helped our fundraising. We went from 30,000 MRR when we joined the accelerator to by the end of the year, I think we were at 130. That's a nice sales pitch when raising a seed round, to show that growth consistently. And that's what we focused on as a company. Obviously, it was a lot more challenging to try to raise money during a pandemic and run a company. But, we focused, the team helped, we picked up the slack where everyone could, and we grew and we got to that point.
So what was it after? So let's keep going on the chronology. After the accelerator is over, you're still out there banging on doors, talking to investors. What sort of started?
I took 2 weeks off, and I said, I want to swear right now, but I said, screw this. I'm taking 2 weeks off. I need a break. I'm tired of talking to people. I want to say I went through 120 meetings and maybe like 250 emails. Launch being very helpful through all of that, making introductions to anyone I requested. If I had a good reason at least. I took a little time off just to decompress, because who was I rushing to do this for? We were profitable, I should say. We didn't need the money. We hadn't even touched the $100,000 from the accelerator. We were doing this because we were thinking future. growth and what we wanted to build. So took a little time off, came back at it, got my first commitment, my first two commitments. One was from Turner Novak, and the other, I can't believe I'm Ben's name is slipping my mind, and Narasin, and I feel terrible for forgetting that there for a sec. Ben was at one of the pitch meetings from the accelerator. We just happened to kind of connect on the investment afterwards, personally, because he couldn't do it from NEA. And Turner was not there, but I was introduced to Turner from someone who was at the pitch meeting, who ultimately said no and referred us to Turner. That kind of just started the process for us. That word of mouth, the commitment, the belief. They started making introductions. More and more people started spiraling. We got to the point where we had, $500,000 in just kind of angel checks from 25 to 50 to 100K. And then we went back to launch and said, hey, we have this much of we have over half our round committed per our accelerator. You guys have the right to the other half. What would you like to do? They took the round themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, that continued on. And then we were supposed to raise one, we oversubscribed and raised two.
Interesting. So you kind of rustled up 500K from, a lot of small
angel checks,
25K checks. And then launch says, we'll match that, basically do 500K.
It was up to them, but they could have said no, but obviously they saw value and believed.
Got it. Interesting. And then how did it, this is one of these things that's like hard to ask the question, but how does it turn into the momentum play where you're now oversubscribed another
FOMO.
million? Yeah.
FOMO. Right. It's literally, I don't know if it's fair to say, but I feel like the venture capital world is a lot of, well, I don't want to miss out on this. Well, these people are doing this, right? So it's taking that FOMO and at the same time, like, my storytelling as a founder and my understanding of, how to take this company to another level over the course of 9 months evolved and grew, right? So by the time we were in September, like I really knew how I wanted to sell this vision and what it would look like. So that obviously helped. But, having great people commit to the round went a long way. We got to a point where we had Diplo and Young Gravy, 2 DJs on the round. That looks really interesting from a consumer community perspective. To have someone of that, celebrity and fame involved gets people's attention. We had Panache Ventures, who are a Canadian firm. They have been awesome. They originally said no to me in May, didn't want to invest, came back and wrote the second biggest check in the seed round. So it's just interesting how things kind of come for full circle. And then again, for me, it was just around my business and my category, community. After being cooped up in the house for 6 months, I think a lot of people started to realize what that meant and how valuable that could be.
Is there any story of how you wrangled in like Diplo?
That's, it's a personal connection. My background is graphic web design, and I did his website.
Okay.
I did a ton of DJ websites. I worked with an agency called Teamwork, maintained connections with their team, stopped working for them because I was focusing on the company, and they said, hey, wait, why are you quitting doing websites for us? Like, you're crazy. Who does this? And I said, well, actually, this is why I'm doing this company. And then, kind of spiraled. Oh, this is amazing. We love this. You guys are profitable. We were doing 1 million ARR by that point.
Wow. We didn't talk about this, but is your business model just subscriptions or
solely subscription? Yeah. $33 a month.
Paying to be a member?
Yeah. $33 a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is nice, fast growth. Cool. Yeah. Very good. I won't keep you much longer. Any other tips or tactics that you employed that work, or even just any other advice you would give your younger self if you were doing this all over again?
Just stay focused. I think what you kind of said, that it's not this, up and to the right trajectory for everything. We go back to kind of Clubhouse right now. People are like, oh, Clubhouse is an overnight success. It's like $1 billion valuation, all this stuff. Like, no, actually the founders have been hustling their ass for 10 years. And this is like the one thing that's now like really blowing up for them. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't believe in overnight success. I don't believe that you're just going to do a couple things right and then it's just going to balloon into this magical unicorn of a company. It's going to be ups, downs, failures, successes, small successes. And you just have to keep going through that and having passion and belief in that what you're doing adds value to people's lives. Because if you are confident in that, which I wasn't going to let anyone, tell me that I was wrong, because I knew I was right. I was having people sign up every single month, and we were growing every month. So I knew I was onto something. So I just stuck through that, no matter how many no's I was going to get for the first, 2/3 of the year.
Yeah. Good. I totally agree. It's like, you just got to stay in the game and, keep moving forward, and writing out
it's not easy. It's not, as much as people want to make it seem like it's easy. It's a lot of hard work. And again, it's not going to be a perfect steps 1 through 10. Here's your $2 million seed round. Mine was like steps 1 through 150. And a couple of them through there are going to suck. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, people want to learn more. It's Soul Savvy. Let me spell it out actually, because it's 1V.
1V. What was the decision to go with 1V?
Oh, very simple. Couldn't get 2Vs.com. So we said, hey, everyone spells their company names wrong. Why can't we?
Funny. Is there an active website at Soul Savvy with 2V?
Someone's been squatting on it, and I'm like, I'm bootstrapped founder. We put in $10,000 into this. I wasn't gonna spend our whole budget on the domain name. And then at the same time, the SOLE and SAVY, the 4 letters, balanced the logo we were creating. So it allowed for some nice balance. So I was, again, like, I'm not gonna. It should not define our company that we spelt the name right or wrong, because like, what the hell is Twitter? Right. Yeah. Soulsavvy.com, 1V.
Yes. Dejan, thanks so much. This has been fun story. And
no problem.
I'll have to get on there and scope around for any Converse Chuck Taylor fans like myself.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you. Over and out.